Federal police in Brazil have carried out more than a dozen raids as part of a widening corruption investigation, including one targeting a senator closely allied with President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. On Thursday, Brazilian police released a statement saying 18 search and seizure warrants were executed in the Federal District of Brasilia, as well as the states of Bahia and Sao Paulo.
Cuba's Communist Party has approved a raft of unprecedented free market measures as part of an emergency economic package. The package was submitted to the country's National Assembly on Thursday, where it is all but assured to pass. United States President Donald Trump has taken to social media to boast about the state of the economy amid a looming peace deal between the US and Iran, which yesterday signed a memorandum of understanding, MOU. In a post on his social media platform Truth Social,
the president claimed that oil is flowing and added that the stock markets are roaring, jobs are at records, prices are at dropping kits, and prices are badability.
AI inference company Basen is close to finalizing a stunning $1.5 billion funding round at a $13 billion valuation, the WSJ reports. Just 5 months ago, the startup announced that it had raised a $300 million Series E at a $5 billion valuation. And that round was just 9 months after raising a $150 million Series D. If finalized, this latest round would represent a 160% increase in valuation in less than half a year. However, the WSJ reports that this is a split-priced round, a tactic startups are using to boost their headline valuation and make lead investors look good on paper. Some investors in this latest funding round are reportedly coming in at a $13 billion valuation, while others at $11 billion, sources told the Journal. This deal is said to be co-led by Spark Capital, Sands Capital, Altimeter Capital and Wellington Management.
Super subs Johan Manzambi and Ruben Vargas fired Switzerland to a 4-1 win over 10-man Bosnia-Herzegovina in a late rush of goals in Los Angeles on Thursday. The result gave the Swiss a strong chance of reaching the knockout round as one of the top 2 teams in Group B.
The US has dropped its naval blockade of Iran after the two countries signed a deal to end the war in the Middle East, despite Iran's supreme leader saying he had a different view and that Donald Trump signed the deal out of desperation. US Central Command confirmed the lifting of the blockade on X in accordance with the president's direction, and US enforcement of the blockade has ceased.
Lionel Messi's father is recovering from a health issue and evolving favourably. His family said in a statement. The family said on Thursday that Jorge was under medical follow-up and asked for privacy. It did not specify the nature of the health issue.
Iran's supreme leader says he initially disagreed with the recently signed memorandum of understanding between Tehran and Washington, but ultimately approved it after receiving assurances from Iran's leadership that the country's interests would be protected. In a written statement carried by Iranian state media on Thursday, Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei said he had a different opinion on the agreement, but granted permission after President Masoud Pezeshkian and other officials pledged to safeguard the rights of the Iranian nation and the resistance front and accepted responsibility for the deal.
Washington, D.C. A few months ago, it would have been unthinkable for a mainstream politician in the United States, let alone a Republican senator, to acknowledge Iran's right to self-defense. But on Wednesday, that's exactly what Senator Roger Marshall did. I think that they have to be able to defend themselves, he told the news channel CNN. Neymar has been ruled out of Brazil's second World Cup match because of a lingering calf injury, the Brazilian Football Confederation has confirmed. The forward will not travel with the rest of the squad for their Group C match against Haiti in Philadelphia, the federation said in a statement on Thursday.
Snap will be spinning off an internal generative AI video team into a separate company. The new company, dubbed Dotmo, will focus on developing AI models that can create interactive gaming experiences. Snap told TechCrunch Snap cited the high costs of conducting such work internally as one of the reasons for the spin-off.
The Punjab Revenue Authority has sealed multiple branches of fast food chain KFC in Lahore over alleged tax non-compliance. According to official sources, 5 KFC branches in Lahore have been sealed, including the DHA EAM and DHAZ block outlets. The United States military says that it has lifted its naval blockade of Iranian ports, part of an agreement between the US and Iran suspending military operations during a period of negotiations. US Central Command, CENTCOM, said on Thursday that all US blockade efforts have ceased, but that its forces will remain in the area to ensure compliance with the agreement.
Provision in a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, to end the US-Israel war with Iran has become the latest political flashpoint in Washington, with President Donald Trump defending the commitment to create a $300 BN reconstruction plan for Iran. Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance both sought to reassure on Thursday that the commitment would not be funded by US taxpayers. Still, several Democrats and a handful of Republicans have seized on the planned fund at a time when affordability and economic populism have dominated the country's electoral politics. An international coalition of countries has warned at the United Nations Human Rights Council that Sudan's paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, could imminently escalate an assault on the central city of El Obeid. The statement, delivered by Norway, was presented on behalf of the Coalition for Atrocity Prevention and Justice for Sudan, comprising Britain, Canada, France, Germany, Ireland, the Netherlands and Sierra Leone, which said they were also joined by 21 other countries.
Rivian has been sued over allegations that the EV maker made false claims about the autonomous driving capabilities of its R1T truck and R1S SUV models. The class action complaint, which was filed Wednesday in the US District Court for the Central District of California, focuses on the first-generation models of the R1T and R1S and claims that Rivian represented that these flagship vehicles would be capable of hands-free, eyes-off driving.
With each new season comes another YC demo day. On Tuesday, the spring 2026 cohort was unveiled, filled with defence tech, robotics, AI infrastructure and developer tools, and of course AI agents themselves. TechCrunch spoke to 8 investors to determine which ones were the hottest companies in this batch, both the ones they were watching and the startups they heard other VCs couldn't get enough of. This list consists primarily of companies that had been flagged by at least 2 investors as the buzziest in the batch. OpenAI is bringing on some big names to the team in the lead-up to its public debut. Google DeepMind AI legend Noam Shazier and former Trump White House AI policy official Dean Ball. Shazier, a co-lead at Gemini and the founder of AI role-playing startup Character AI, announced his departure on Wednesday. He had been at Google since 2000, leaving only for a 3-year period when he left to co-found Character AI. 2 years ago, Google rehired Shazier in a $2.7 billion deal that gave the tech giant access to the startup's technology.
United States Vice President J.D. Vance on Thursday issued a rare rebuke of Israel during a White House press briefing, criticizing Israeli lawmakers who had opposed the Memorandum of Understanding signed between the United States and Iran. Under the deal, the 2 sides have agreed on a framework to end the war, reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, and a 60-day timeline for further talks. The parents of a boy who shot dead 9 children and a security guard at a Serbian elementary school have been given jail terms in a retrial in Belgrade. The boy was 13 when he shot dead 7 girls, a boy and a school guard at Vladislav Ribnikar School in Belgrade in 2023. Another girl died later in hospital.
A man has been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder after a 3-year-old boy ended up in a crocodile enclosure at a zoo in central England on Thursday, resulting in him sustaining critical injuries, police said. Cambridgeshire police said officers were called following reports of an incident at Johnson's of Oldhurst, a zoo near Huntingdon, which resulted in the boy being in the enclosure. News of the damage must surely have found its way into the most isolated of bunkers. Russian President Vladimir Putin has been accused of secluding himself from the deteriorating realities of his invasion of Ukraine. But the staggering images from Moscow's skyline on Thursday surely mark a moment when even the thickest levels of insulation around the Kremlin head cannot shield him from the sound of repeated blasts just 10 miles away that obliterated refineries, leading to thick black smoke wafting over Russia's capital.
Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar says he is suspending contact with the European Union's foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, after reports that she compared Israel's treatment of Palestinians to South Africa's former apartheid system. The diplomatic row erupted after European news outlet Euractiv reported last week that Kallas made the remarks during high-level talks with Mexican officials in May.
South Africa scored a penalty 7 minutes from full-time as they fought back to draw 1-1 with the Czech Republic at the World Cup. After falling behind early in the group, a clash, Teboho Mokoena slotted home the spot kick after Pavel Sulk's handball handed the South Africans a lifeline on Thursday as they were staring at potential early elimination. China's foreign minister says that emerging economies remain underrepresented in global governance institutions, presenting China's new white paper on making global governance more equitable. Minister Wang Yi argued that the role of the United Nations should be strengthened and developing countries should have a stronger voice in the world body.
If Amazon Web Services has its way, the cloud giant is going to push even deeper into NVIDIA's market in what might be one of the biggest challenges to NVIDIA's AI chip dominance we've seen so far. Amazon's AI chief Peter DeSantis told Bloomberg that AWS is in talks to sell its AI chip Trainium to other companies for use in data centers. DeSantis declined to specify which companies could be the buyers of such chips.
Dating app giant Match Group, which owns apps like Tinder, Hinge and OkCupid, conducted a study to determine how US singles really feel about the relationship between AI and dating. Turns out, people don't want AI messing with every aspect of human life. Across the industry, dating apps are experimenting with AI. Bumble introduced a dating assistant named Bee, and Tinder is spending so much on AI tools that it slowed its hiring process. Meanwhile, Hinge's CEO stepped down last year to launch a more AI-focused dating app altogether.
Teboho Mokoena's penalty kept South Africa's dream of reaching the World Cup knockout stages for the first time alive after a 1-1 draw with the Czech Republic in Atlanta on Thursday. Mitchell Sadalek's early opener had the Czechs on course for just their second World Cup win as an independent nation. Admitting the Crime Control Department's, CCD, mistake in the shooting of a young girl in Chakwal earlier this month, the Punjab police and the CCD said on Thursday that the incident would neither be defended nor covered up under any circumstances. They also described the shooting as a case of criminal negligence, saying that the CCD official's lack of training had contributed to his inability to assess the situation correctly.
The United States Supreme Court has sided with a marijuana user from the state of Texas who had argued that a federal law barring illegal drug users from owning a firearm violated the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. All 9 of the court's justices ruled in favor of Ali Daniel Hemani on Thursday. The government's ability to restrict does not eliminate. The government's ability to restrict gun access for drug users